Hello, friends, and welcome to Pod Return to the Waking Sands. We are a Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast where we explore the lore and story of Hydaelyn and beyond. My name is Jen, and I'm joined by my co-host and researcher.
I'm Levi.
Hello, Levi.
Hello, Jen.
Hello.
Today, thank you, Jen. Today we are resuming the MSQ with some patch 2.4.
Ooh, yeah.
So we'll be playing through the quest Intercession of Saints.
Insert music.
But Jen, what happened last time?
You know, as we were setting up, I'm like, if you ask me what happened last time, I'm going to lose it. Notice how I'm keeping it together?
This is a shocking development that Jen has asked for a recap.
Okay, so last time we did the Crystal Braves ceremony.
Yeah.
That was at the very end of the shit, though.
Yes.
Was that where we battled Hoary Boulder and Coltene outside?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so we had the little fun battle where we spanked him. And then probably some kind of Alphinaud shit.
AKA Crystal Braves.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, beyond that, I don't remember, honestly.
That was the end of it, for sure. Besides that, we did the Ramu stuff, which I can appreciate you not fully recalling.
I mean, I should, but it's been some weeks.
It was forgettable.
Wow.
Burn.
I mean, not the extreme fight. That was traumatizing. Mildly. But yes, I remember we commented how the Ramu stuff was meh. So, yeah. The Hoary Boulder fight was so much more memorable than fighting the primal Ramu. Such is life sometimes.
So today we are picking up once again in the Rising Stones. This place is hopping right now.
There's all sorts of blue quests going on.
Well, not that. That's in the bar. I'm talking about the Rising Stones, not the Seventh Heaven.
Oh, we've got all sorts of people.
Yeah,
up in there. Braves,
it is typically full of peeps.
Full of blue peoples.
Did you what? Oh, you mean the Crystal Braves? Yeah.
We're chilling.
We've seen the Crystal Braves actually all over the place right now.
All over, yeah.
They're in all of the major city-states, hanging out, wearing blue.
Mm-hmm. Just keeping an eye on all yous.
In the Scion's break room, though, I guess in the Scion's, tap room, bar?
Like a common area?
Common room.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the new Crystal Braves are trying out that motto, for the freedom of all. There are a lot of opinions going on about this saying, how it feels, if it's good.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this like you just stand and kind of look at the pop-up, the little
no, you
dialogue
can
pop-ups?
Talk to so many people.
Oh, I see.
Here.
Okay. What are they saying?
That's what I'm saying. They're trying out the motto. I don't know about this.
Freedom for all?
If I say it a lot, it
Freedom
sounds
for
real
some,
weird.
maybe.
The Scions are also all hanging out. Thancred has the hots for a doman named Higiri, who has been plying him with her cooking.
Ah, that'll do it.
And the Doman Children Adventurers Guild is hiding out in the corner. They're wondering if they should rebrand themselves to be more like the Crystal Braves.
Oh. Like no. You guys are what you are. Embrace it.
Well, if only Jen were there to tell them.
I did hang out with Thancred for a bit. He was like practicing his dagger tossing.
That's after we get going.
Oh, I see.
There's like the whole scene changes.
No, everybody changes. Yeah. I did stop and talk to Alphinaud before I went in. And he was like, the Crystal Braves are going to do all this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. We could talk to Menphilia. So we're a couple days after the ceremony, so things are kind of settling in. Menphilia still can't shake this sense of quote unquote dark foreboding. But, right now we're kind of chilling. The primals have been very quiet lately. The tribes are being monitored by the grand companies, no major activity. And Oriange continues in his pursuit for a solution to the recurring Asian problem. So right now we're just we're hanging out. So as far as those things go, we're in a holding pattern. So the current issue really is just kind of getting the Crystal Braves up and running and making sure they're operating smoothly. And Menphilia offered the assistance of one of the Archons to Alphinaud in this endeavor, and he was, in typical Alphinaud fashion, I'm independent. I don't need help. I've got it. I'm good. Thanks, though. So she's talking to us and saying, you know what? I bet, he's going to need help. You need to ask him, because if you offer your help, he won't be able to say no, which is true. And we go and we're like, hey, Alphinaud, if you need help with stuff, we can help you with stuff. And he's like, as a matter of fact, I do have something that you can help with. He would prefer to handle it himself because it's kind of sensitive, but he currently has Captain Ilberd working on this super secret task. So we go talk to Captain Ilberd.
His second in command.
Second in command. Yeah, we got Commander Levieur and then Captain Ilberd.
It's a lot of trust for a nobody, as far as we know, but...
Right.
Either way,
I'm sure it's fine.
We go over to Ilberd, who is a Highlander with gray hair, longish and tied back on top and shaved on sides. It's like a mohawk mullet, kind of.
It's more like a man bun. Yeah, shaved on the sides, slicked back into a little bun on the crown of his head.
It's like a fold more than a bun. If you see him from the side, that thing kind of winds back upon itself a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I like it. I like the haircut, actually.
Cool.
So we talk to this guy.
Ilberd says, how might we serve you? But we say, how might we serve you?
Oh my God. Here we go. Just talk to us like a person. That would be fine. He says that I'm going to tell you this. This is a very sensitive issue. It's so sensitive that I actually can't assign any of my people to it. And we kind of give him a look like, Jesus, this sounds serious. And he says, I'm going to tell you this in the strictest confidence. So what they have received is a set of documents indicating a potential mole within one of the grand companies, a Garlean mole, to be specific. So they asked around, started making some inquiries, and they figured out that this agent, they call them, has infiltrated the Immortal Flames, and they've been there for quite some time. Moving forward with the investigation, they found a likely suspect, interrogated this person, and found out, no, this is not their agent, but it is one of the agent's agents, one of their minions. Apparently, there are many of them. And this is terrible news.
He was, however, certain that this ivy had coiled itself around every part of the Immortal Flames. It would seem our quarry joined the company some time ago and gradually recruited others to his cause. These conspirators are the vines by which he learns our secrets, all without exposing himself. It won't be easy to identify the ivy amidst this tangled mass of subterfuge, but we have a tendril in our hands, and we shall follow it all the way to the gnarled root.
Jen, would you say that this agent has coiled around the Immortal Flames like ivy?
I would.
Would you say that its tendrils have wound throughout the Grand Company?
Yes.
Do you think that we need to trim off these tendrils?
God. Yes, there are many cute little euphemisms.
This metaphor is so awfully tortured. It goes on so long.
Yeah.
They're fucking loving this.
We've got one of the tendrils. We will follow the tendril to its gnarled root. I'm like, I got it. I got the metaphor.
I am on board. Tear out the root. We'll find this
ivy. So this top agent or whatever is the Ivy. We're just going to call them Ivy. So as the Garlemald Battle of Succession nears its end, it's likely they will again turn their attentions towards Eorzea, and we need to take this time to sniff the Ivy out, throw some Roundup on it, yank it out, and put it in the green bin.
But if the Ivy learns we're onto it, they're likely to snap back at us.
Also, don't use Roundup, anybody, ever. Don't use it. It's bad. Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah.
We have to be on our guard while trying to play it cool, so we don't show the Ivy that we're on its trail.
Right. We need to investigate without it looking like we're investigating. So first, what we need to do is accompany. Well, Ilberd asks. He's like, "Can you accompany me to the Hall of Flames? I need to apprise Raban of what we've uncovered so far." So we do. Off to the Hall of Flames we go and meet up with Raubahn.
At the Hall of Flames, Raubahn and Ilberd greet each other. It turns out they go way back, having last seen one another at the fall of Alamigo. They have been friends and rivals both until they were separated. And they spend a long time telling each other the other's life story.
Yeah, there's a little like, oh, I haven't seen you since blah, 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 exposition about Ilberd's past. And then Ilberd does the same about Raubahn.
This is so funny, though, because they tell each other what the other one's been up to.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for telling me my story. I
hate
know
that.
it's
I hate
for
being
us,
pulled out of the
player, but it's ridiculous how this is framed.
Also, it may have been because they're trying very hard. So we learned in a second that they're meeting. We're going to carry on this conversation, this very sensitive conversation, out in the open to make it look like they're just like old friends reuniting. So they're playing a bit. So I don't know how far the bit goes and where like reality starts or stops. You know what I mean? Like, are they playing up like I haven't seen you since you got captured by like they're seeing it for the benefit of other people who might be listening in. I
think that argument kind of falls flat because Ilberd does not tell Raubahn about the Ivy until after they finish telling each other their respective others' life stories.
They gotta sandwich it, right? They gotta be like, hey, old friend, blah blah blah. So like if there's any spies about,
sure,
they can be like, oh, this is fine.
But Raubahn
maybe
does
turn
not
their
yet know
earballs off.
that there's a game afoot. Regardless, though, that happens. It goes on for a while.
Well, I don't know if we knew this before about Raubahn, but when he escaped from Alamigo and the Brass Blades found him in Thanalan, they arrested him, threw him into the Colosseum, and he won 1 billion matches, got $1 billion, bought the Colosseum, bought a seat on the Syndicate, and became a general of the Immortal Flames.
Yes,
like, what a rags to riches story.
$1 billion, the local currency.
Correct. Or whatever, maybe millions.
And won 1 billion matches, something that you can do in one person's lifetime. Sorry, Jen. Jen is rolling her eyes heavily.
Mm-hmm. Can't you just let me say
stuff? We deal in facts in this podcast, Jen.
No, we don't. No, absolutely not. Because it's a video game. Anyway.
We deal in fictional facts in this podcast, Jen.
Let me just be a bard for a moment and wax hyperbolic, okay?
Oh, shit, we're back to the bard episode.
I swear to God. Okay,
Would you like to give me some rhymes, Jen?
No, we're moving on.
Would you care to tell me your story? If you do, it won't get too gory.
With all of his story?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Speaking of history, that is on par with the bard episode's rhymes.
You're never allowed to have a beer before we record ever again.
Okay, that might cause a problem for our routine, Jen, but noted.
What is up with you today? Man, you're full of beans today.
I got a quesadilla.
This is what I'm talking about. It's like carrying on a conversation with a dad who is in full on dad mode, and so we're not getting anywhere. Oh my God. Okay. Are you good?
I'm great, Jen.
Sure. Yep, you sure are. Okay.
So Ilberd tells Raubahn about the Ivy, and Raubahn breaks the metaphor by saying they have a snake in their midst.
Oh no. Now what do we do? All right, okay. I guess
we need to watch out for its venom, which will spread through the veins.
All right. Okay. That'll work. That's fine. I was really just completely all on board with the Ivy stuff. I guess we'll
need to cut off the snake's head. So the body dies.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm liking it. All right. We can work with this.
Cool.
Very good. So this is when Raubahn learns that his immortal flames have been compromised.
So it is we who have been compromised. Teleji Adeleji's machinations have shaken Ul'dah to her foundations. In such uncertain times, a man's loyalty may be bought for a fistful of gil. But if this snake has truly been in our midst for as long as you say, we must needs consider a far graver possibility. Conspiracy. Could it be that the Monetarists have been in league with the Empire from the first? Very well. I will have my most trusted men investigate the matter. Continue your inquiries in the meantime.
If the Ivy has been installed for as long as Ilberd is saying, then maybe we entertain that a larger, more long-term conspiracy is afoot here, like Garleans or the Empire and the Monetarists maybe are doing some bullshit. He does name drop Teleji at Elegy here for reasons, but right now we must continue doing what we're doing. So Raban is gonna talk to his most trusted associates, and the Crystal Braves are going to continue with their inquiries, and then we part ways.
And Ilberd says, that went well. Guess we didn't require your Warrior of Light backup after all.
I mean, no. I mean, if anything, if we're trying to keep appearances up of this, like, not being an official, like, serious investigation or something, then, like, maybe keep us out of it, because we are who we are. But that's fine.
So we go back now to the Rising Stones, and we report to Commander Levier. And we have returned not a moment too soon, as something has happened. The Crystal Braves unit in charge of investigating the Ivy's known rendezvous point has been ambushed, and one of them has been taken captive. So Alphinaud wants to dispatch a rescue party, but Ilberd takes over. He says there's no time to assemble a party, and he does not wait for Alphinaud to weigh in. He says to us, the Warrior of Light, can we rescue this captive? He's telling us, he's not asking us.
Yeah. I mean, like, hopefully the reason why he's captain is because he has some serious martial experience, and this speaks to that. Like, he knows how long it's going to take to call back officers from the field. He knows how long it's going to take to assemble a, fire team or whatever you call it. We don't have that. We don't have that luxury.
Squad.
Something,
I found this funny because this is what Alphinaud did to Minfilia. And now he's getting Alphinaud by Ilberd.
Yeah, it feels not great, probably. But, when somebody who knows better starts talking, you shut the fuck up.
Alphinaud says, you're right, of course. And he tells us that Alianne of the 4th lies in wait in the Tangle near Castrum Sentry. So we're to rendezvous with her and get further information. So we head over there to the swamps in the western part of Mordona and meet up with Alianne. This is the Elizin who was formerly part of the grandpa-granddaughter duo until the older one retired. So we like her.
Yes.
I assume.
She's good. She's cool. Vetted. So we meet up. There's like 4 from the 4th. This is the 4th regiment or something like that. So one of their company, Resh, she was the one who was injured and taken captive. Apparently she suffered wounds that were great enough that if we tarry too long in her rescue, she just may die of them. We don't know what has happened to her, if they're just holding her until she dies, if they're torturing and interrogating. We don't know, but we got to get in there.
And Alianne says that though the order may be in its infancy, the bonds that bind them are as strong as mithril. So we must save Resh. She's way into it.
I mean, you would hope so. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they've done some training exercises together. They've gone through boot camp together. So here we go. So we infiltrate the castrum. And we find Resh tied up and surrounded by Imperial soldiers. She's just out in the open. I mean, thank God she's not like inside.
Yeah, she's slumped against a rock in the area with the big kind of raised pipe network in like the southern part of the castrum.
Mm-hmm.
So we get there and we get a few Imperials attacking us. We beat them, no problem. The other members of the unit arrive and they ask us to make a diversion so they can escort Resh out to safety.
Yeah, she can't walk on her own. She has to be carried. So we need to create a hell of a distraction so that they can do that without being seen. And we do that, and that's super easy.
Yeah, we have to go to 3 parts of the castrum and trigger enemy spawns there. We fight a small group of enemies, repeat that twice more, and then we're done.
Yeah, sometimes there is just an Imperial soldier chilling outside of the fight zone, staring at us while we all fight, and then they just walk away.
Good.
Yeah.
Smart of them.
They're probably not Garleans, so they're not that committed to the cause.
No. And also they see what's happening. So after that's done, we head back to the Rising Stones and get some good jobs from Alphinaud and Ilberd. Alphinaud says that they will not rest until they trim the ivy. As for us, though, Alphinaud has a date for us in Kurthis with an Ishgardian dignitary. It sounds like we were requested personally to accompany him.
Wow.
And the person in question is from the Holy See itself. Sir Emmerich, Lord Commander of the Temple Knights.
This is
Jen,
huge.
I've heard good things about this commander.
I have too. Honestly, his reputation precedes himself.
Yes.
Very
He
exciting.
may be new, but he's up and coming.
Up and coming.
A rising star.
Stone?
Nice. Now who's the dad, Jen?
Well, I learned it from watching you. Okay. Alphinaud is, because he's Alphinaud, stoked at this development, for diplomatic ties. This is a hell of a development because he's been trying to engage Ishgardian anybody's in a conversation to get them to rejoin the alliance, to present a united front against the Empire, all of this stuff. And he's been rebuked. They've given him just random ass messengers to deliver we're not interested, thanks. And he's like, now we have, by their request, the Lord Commander of the Temple Knights. This is huge. This is great. He's very excited. He's like, this is when it all comes together. Woo!
He has to sell us, though, hard on it, apparently. At least he feels the need to tell us why we should come.
Oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
This is super weird.
He's like, it's important to gain influence with Ishgard, and I'm sure if you ask Benfilia, she'd agree. And if you think it's a waste of your time, I should remind you that more good can be accomplished with the stroke of a pen than the swing of a sword.
And I would just, my character, Otis, is just looking at him like, yeah.
We will say yes to literally anything. You don't need to sell us here.
We're not also dumb. So it's almost like, in the conversation that occurred, he was like, we're going to go talk to this guy. And surely you find it a good idea. It's almost like in that moment we responded with but I would rather do calisthenics, or I would rather go stab dudes. And he had to be like, actually, stabbing dudes can sometimes be less effective than writing things down.
Writing things to dudes.
As, just, oh, you sweet summer child. It was such a weird thing for him to say, considering all that whatever. So, yeah.
It's worth calling out because it is weird.
It's weird.
Yep.
So, and then he was like, this is an incredible opportunity. And I'm sure Benfilia will agree when you go ask her permission. I'm like, of course she would. And also, why am I asking permission? It's fine.
But we do.
We do. We're like, this is a thing that we're doing and it's a really good idea. And she's like, yes, absolutely. It's a great idea. Of course you will go. And she's like, you know what, though? I've been with this whole thing, they've been incommunicado for decades. And then all of a sudden they reach out and request a meeting like this. Like, what do they want, do you think? And Alphinaud was like, I honestly don't know. I hope that it's that they've, as they've been watching things develop with the Empire, with the primal, the recurring problem, etc., that they're finally ready to, join the Alliance. But he's like,
We get a little cutscene here about Ishgard, which this is what I wanted when we first came to Kurthis.
Yeah.
It's like we already know half the stuff from our time in Kurthis, a bit too little too late. But we get this cutscene where it shows the map of Eorzea and where Ishgard is on the map. And we get this narrative during it, not voiced, but just text. It tells us that the notoriously reclusive nation of Ishgard, situated at the center of Abelathia's spine, ruled by the Ishgardian Orthodox Church, members of the original Eorzean alliance, formed in the wake of Alamigo's fall some 2 decades ago. Friends of convenience who withdrew from the alliance as soon as the Imperial fleet was routed at the Battle of Silvertear Skies. Since which time, their borders have remained closed to all outsiders. And on the fields of Carteneau, where brave men and women laid down their lives in defense of the realm, their banners were conspicuously absent.
Embarrassing.
Very.
Mm-hmm. So, yet, Alphinaud is heartened by this development, and he's also glad that we've kind of developed the relationship with Lord Orchefant, and that's certainly going to help grease these wheels. And we're like, well, I'm glad we put that shit in motion. So to Camp Dragonhead we go, and we see our old friend Lord Orchefant, and he is very happy to see us, and he's happy on our behalf that this meeting is happening. He knows how things have been going, and he's been fighting to continue the supply chain to Revenant's Toll for, who knows how long. He's definitely going to be the guy to help, get us to hold hands. So.
And he suspects that the recent discoveries at Snowcloak may have aided this matter.
Sure. That was kind of a biggie.
What with the heretic issues and all.
Indeed.
He says he has stoked the hearth for us, but if we can forego the hearth for a bit, Sir Emmerich awaits us. So we take a short walk over to the intercessory.
We're going to get real familiar with this room. So we walk out of the, what do we want to call that?
It's like the war room or whatever.
Yeah, the war room, sure. Or Siobhan's office.
Sure. His hall.
Yeah. So we walk out, immediately make a right, another right, and down a little back corridor, there's a door into an intercessory, which is just kind of like a general purpose room, let's say. We're the first to get there. Orshafant follows us in, and then Alphinaud follows us in. And, Orshafant gives us a little pep talk, like just, speak your truth, be confident and clear, and it's going to be great. I believe in you, And then 2 new people walk in together.
So here we meet Sir Emmerich himself, a youngish-looking Ellison with a sweep of dark hair, wearing a long blue and black armored coat. And he's flanked by an armored woman, a, quote, taciturn temple knight, with a stern face and shortish gray hair with an asymmetrical haircut.
So she's got her haircut's so rad.
She's kind of like Nigajin.
Yeah. If that's the haircut I would rock if I could pull it off. But her head is shaved except for the front, the swoop of bang. It's so cool. And it's more like white. So she's got this kind of it's vaguely emo, but it's fabulous. Anyway, so she's chilling.
It's extremely taciturn.
Apparently she's very taciturn. But she is armored up as well.
Yeah.
This woman is up there.
So Alphinaud starts off by whipping out the charm, but Sir Emmerich outcharms him.
He really does.
By showering praise upon us, the Warrior of Light especially. He has followed our activities with an interest bordering on fascination.
This is an interesting little moment where, speaking of reputations, he says, God, what's the actual quote? It was so good. Man, everything that rolls out of this guy's mouth is just like butter. So he's speaking of reputations, as everybody's kind of patting each other on the back. We're all in the shadow of yours, talking to us, the Warrior of Light. So anyway, he's, kind of fangirling a bit in our presence, though maintaining all the cool ever. He's clearly in charge of this room. Just immediate charisma, this guy. So we all, sit down and let's get the brass tacks here.
It's implied here that this goes on for some time. Alphinaud does his absolute best to make his master, I'm sure, thoroughly rehearsed argument.
This is pitch. It's the pitch.
16-point pitch as to why Ishgard should join the Eorzean Alliance.
Making all the salient points, referencing all of the recent history.
And this is a bit mean, I think, because Emmerich just says, respectfully, I must disagree.
Yeah,
to all this stuff.
Yeah, and he responds to all of it saying okay, this, disagree, this, disagree, this, disagree. And he says this with just very quiet authority.
We know full well that the Garleans will return in force ere long. What is more, we have yet to achieve a lasting victory over the primal menace. The beast tribes continue to summon their gods, and each incarnation is stronger than the last. Ishgard is not immune to these threats. I must reiterate that it would behoove your nation to rejoin the Eorzean Alliance.
Once again, I must respectfully disagree.
So, to Alphinaud's clear dismay, he cites the Ixal's territorial disputes. Those are solidly Gridanian issues, and Ishgard is not going to get involved with internal affairs of another nation. That's pretty much cut and dry. Done. We're not talking about it anymore. And then you're going to be talking about regardless, our forces are wholly devoted to the Dravanian conflict. We can't spare a single night. Done. As for the Garleans, a threat that can affect us all. I'm like, what are you going to say to this, bro? They are aware of the Empire's activities, their expansion. Emmerich again disagrees with Alphinaud's assertion that they join a united front because Gaius Van Belzar is dead. the headless legions will likely stay within their castrums, licking their wounds, looking for direction for quite some time. So they feel like they can kind of sit back and assess as it goes. You know, Alphinaud's voice here totally betrays his confusion and his ire. So, okay, Alphinaud says, if Ishgard's position hasn't changed, then why have you requested this meeting? Emmerich closes his eyes and sits back in his chair, folds his little fingerless, gloved hands. To be honest, I'm not here exclusively as an ambassador of Ishgard. And we're all like, what? Recently, there have been concerns over House Fortemps supplying aid to Revenant's Toll, and they feel that those shipments should be stopped because of the whole intervening with another nation biz. But Emmerich smiles and he says, those shipments, they will continue unabated. And Orshafan is very, very grateful. He's like, we are, that's amazing news. We are in your debt. And Emmerich says, you won't be, because I need something in return. Another, like, what moment? Their astrologians have observed some developments in the sky, particularly the Dragon's Star? Is that what they call it? It's just the Dragons, the Star of the Dragon, Dragon Star?
The Dragon Star.
Dragon Star. And it is shining very, very brightly of late. And what that typically portends...
It waxes unnaturally bright.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What that typically portends is a return of Midgard Sommer.
I don't think that it's, quote, typical.
Or rather, this is their interpretation.
Yes,
like,
they
this
think that
this is the vibe.
This phenomenon today portends the return of the dragon Midgard Sommer.
Yeah, contextual clues.
Yeah, sure. This is the elder dragon that died in the Battle of Silver Tier Skies while taking down the Imperial flagship, the Agrius. We can still see his body coiled around the wreck of the airship in Silver Tier Lake today.
It's quite a sight.
And though Alphinaud is skeptical the dragon's going to get back up again, he says, sure, we will keep an eye on the dragon if you keep these supplies flowing. So we're all cool. Emmerich's cool. Alphinaud's cool. Everyone's cool until a guard busts in. The caravan. It's been attacked by Lady Iceheart.
Dun, dun, dun. Record scratch moment. Meeting adjourned.
We adjourn to Horchafant's Hall for more details, and we learn that the caravan was bound for Revenant's Toll, just can't catch a break there, and that it was swiftly overcome, every guard slain, and every supply looted. This would be a impossible feat without knowledge of the route, to which only a select few are privy. So Alphinaud proposes that we examine the ambush site. We agree and head out. So down by the road to Revenant's Toll, we find a wagon tipped over, and the House Fortemps guards are investigating. And they've got nothing, nary a clue remains. But we hear, though, that actually a squire survived the attack, and they are recuperating in the observatorium. So we head on over. And after we do the find out which building and which floor minigame.
I was like, oh, it's going to be in one of these buildings, isn't it? God damn it.
We find him upstairs.
Go downstairs? Nope.
In one of the buildings on a bed. And this squire, the surviving squire, says that the attackers looked like pilgrims, lost and ill-equipped for their journey.
You know, it's funny. So while this is happening, there was like a fete right outside. There's like a fete that happens inside the camp, inside the observatorium grounds. So while I'm sitting there talking to the squire, I've got like reflections of AoEs that are going on outside and like little numbers popping up of people doing damage. It was kind of distracting, but it was fun.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
So he says that the leader of the caravan called out to the refugees and one stepped forward. A young girl with her silver hair flowing like the wind in melting snow. The caravan leader let her get close and dropped his guard, and then he dropped. The squire did not understand what was going on until he saw the snow turn red. And a fight soon broke out, and he was wounded early on in it. And he only regained consciousness after it was over.
But he was able to spy them stealing all the stuff.
He feigned dead so as to avoid notice, but he watched the heretics steal all the supplies and load them onto their own wagon. And he overheard them speaking of deliverance, resurrection, and Shiva.
Ooh. So we go back to Camp Dragonhead with our report. And Alphinaud asks who this Shiva is. And the quote-unquote taciturn temple knight, Emmerich's companion, asks, like, have you not read a single word of the Enchiridion? Ugh. So the Shiva, she was a traitor to kith and kin, an apostate who lay down with dragons. The worst of the worst. And Haurchefant kind of admonishes her a little bit, like, you know, we can't expect every foreigner to have read Ishgardian scripture front to back. But yes, she's...
Especially as it relates to patron saints and heretics. Alphinaud hears this last bit, patron saint, and he asks, what was the caravan's cargo?
We already know the answer to this.
The answer is crystals.
Mm-hmm.
And Alphinaud concludes that Iceheart and her followers intend to summon Shiva. And nobody argues. Our taciturn knight says that she'll inform the Lord Commander at once.
Yep, so that's where we're at.
Alphinaud says that we will continue to lend support, and we will summon the aid of the Scions. And that's where we will leave off for now. Next time we'll pick up with the investigation. Any thoughts, Jen?
I mean, yeah, we meet Sir Emmerich for the first time. It's kind of a big moment. Yeah, so, you know, at this point, what do we think of Sir Emmerich? We don't really know. We don't really know a lot. He's not like the most altruistic of fellows. He yields nothing, but when the small thing he does yield, he wants something in return. So that's what we know of this man. And also, he speaks for Ishgardian policy while also indicating that he can do absolutely nothing, despite his position, to change it. So fair enough.
Sure. I am kind of watching these developments with a new eye on this second playthrough, knowing where things go. And we can't talk about it now, obviously, because we've not gotten that far yet. But I am kind of like watching for any indication of where events go right now to see, I guess, how much one could pick up if you were knowing what to watch for. Yeah, at least the Ishgardian development gives us something to focus on right now. The other stuff will continue in the background. Yeah, it's hard to talk about right now because we're in foreshadowing and also just kind of build up territory right now, which is going somewhere but is not there yet.
Exactly.
So anyway, with that said, next time we are continuing on with the MSQ, and we'll be hitting up as part of that the Snow Cloak Dungeon. So we will see you next time. And that will do it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening and having ears and big hearts and give you all a high five. Yeah. If you want to get in touch with us, you can at podreturnffxiv@gmail.com. You can check the show notes for our Discord. You can join, talk about literally anything. Share pictures of your pets, and join group runs, sign up for group runs, whatever. It's an amazing group of people, and we would love to have you. And we also have our Patreon, patreon.com/podreturnffxiv. And for $1 a month, you get access to all of our bonus stuff. We have our Final Fantasy XI series, Vana'diel Events Planer, published there, as well as our episodes about all the seasonal events and extra miscellany. So check it out. And our episode about the Final Fantasy XIV tabletop RPG. So check it out. And with that, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a good day or night, and we will see you next time.